I'd like to call the El Paso County Park Advisory Board meeting to order. Welcome everyone who's here and our presenters and of course our team within El Paso County and our board. In light of the fact that it is 9/11 today, I'd just like us to ask to just take a short moment of silence and remember those who lost their lives on this day. All right, thank you. We have an awfully fun schedule today. I appreciate people coming in to present to us. But first order of business, just to let the other committee members know that Terry is online, and I think we have Corey Sotelo also online. First order of business is to approve the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda, or are there any comments on the agenda that they'd like something modified? I'm hearing nothing. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as stated? Okay, Kirsten, thank you. Second? Jane, thank you. Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I think I heard two. Aye, aye. Okay, all right.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign? Hearing none, chair votes aye, and motion carries. Moving on to the minutes. Minutes are on start on page 3. Are there any questions or concerns about the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as written? Okay, thank you. And Kirsten, you may want to put your microphone on if it isn't. This way they could also hear you up.
This is T-Rex. I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Jane, second.
Jane, thank you. All those in favor of approving the minutes as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, like sign? Hearing none, chair votes aye, motion carries. Moving on to item number 4A, starting on page 7. And Shauna, welcome. I hope you had a chance to relax a little bit after the county fair. We look forward to hearing more about it.
Sorry, am I on? Okay. Thank you for having me. I have had a little bit of a chance to relax, but then I went on vacation and got sick. So
Oh, no.
bear with me with a little bit of coughing and stuff. But I am here to tell you about our fair this year. And I have to remember to drive this thing, so sorry. We are super excited to report the results of our 2024 El Paso County Fair and let you know that it was epic out here this year. You guys, we visit this every year with you, but we'll revisit it again. The El Paso, sorry. The El Paso County Fair is a timeless celebration of our county's history and heritage. The fair is an opportunity to celebrate community and achievements of our El Paso County youth. We had so many new things this year. So one of our primary focuses this year was increasing that midweek attendance. We always see a slowdown in midweek, and so we added a lot of things focused on that, and then of course always to improve the entire experience. So we added a sensory day this year on Tuesday, which I think I'm just going to stop there because that's the first one, but what an amazing day that was for us. It was an idea we'd heard about somebody else doing. We decided to explore it a little bit, reached out to the Autism Society of Colorado to partner with us and really say, how can we do a good sensory day? And we are so happy with the results of that day. So not only will we bring that back, I really see that becoming a regular event and probably doing more things to focus on that. But we'll talk a little bit more about results in a little bit, but it was an amazing experience, and I am super honored to have been a part of that and the amazing partners that we had for that.
And Sean, I'm sorry. to interrupt.
Yes.
What's the 20-second version of what is Sensory Day?
Sensory Day? So sorry. You mean you don't live in my head? Sensory Day, we offered this year on Tuesday, and it was designed to provide an environment where families that are struggling with sensory sensitivities would feel comfortable coming and experiencing the El Paso County Fair. We know that that's a growing demographic. We know that that is a large struggle for families, and we just really had this moment of, these are families that may never come to a county fair, and we can't get rid of the stimulus, but what can we do to make it manageable and give them the tools they need? And so there was a toolkit put together to prepare families for each area. And then on our end, we did adjustments. It was a 4-hour window. We turned down the noise so that the DJ wasn't announcing or playing music. Our shows were running at just a slightly reduced level. The Autism Society was on site to offer a sensory space for families to recharge. Our vendors took away the extra stimuli that they could, whether it was scent or lights or things like that. And we really just tried to modify the environment without lessening the experience.
Cool.
And we've gotten some great feedbacks from families that have been able to successfully experience a county fair for the first time since those challenges entered their family.
Nice.
So, yeah, so sorry about that.
No, it's great.
We added a petting zoo this year, and that included Kylan Farley, which hopefully you saw in our marketing, our alpaca and mini Highlander, who were everywhere. We partnered with a local organization, the Mustang Ambassador Program, who came out and set up in the rodeo arena on our weekdays to just educate more about training and caring for those animals. In the afternoon and evening, we added free concerts. We've always done them on the weekends. Last year, we added every weeknight. This year, we added every afternoon. Our nature centers were out in force. We really appreciate them every day of fair, with the exception of Sunday. But the full 8-hour days representing their fun, interactive things, but also what they offer to our community. Cowboy Fast Draw came out and played with us on those weekdays and just did some quick fast draw lessons. And our Epic Eras party, which was a themed dance party Tuesday night. Our Silent Goat Disco on Thursday night, which was exactly what it sounds like, a silent disco with goats, was a huge success. Our youth bull riding did get rained out, but it still brought in families, and we have offered to reschedule that event. And so they will actually return to the fairgrounds for a Halloween event to participate in youth bull riding. And our Rough Stock event, which featured Bronx and Bulls, was a free grandstands event on a Wednesday night, which is usually empty space on the grounds. So this is kind of what we did to really focus on midweek. And we did see that kind of pay off. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Our usual sources, our county fair staff, which are an amazing team, our Fair Queen team, which are all volunteers, all of our various community partners, sponsors, that list is growing. And then our volunteers, so many volunteers across those partners as well, but also just community volunteers. So we could not do what we do without any of them. Our marketing strategies, things that we've always do, our newsletters and our partnerships and our posters, social media campaigns, radio, television, and newspaper. But then last year we added billboards for the first time. This year we added the digital billboard on Woodman and Black Forest. That was big and beautiful. If you didn't see it, it glowed. It was so pretty. But also high traffic flow through that area. And then we went into movie theaters this year. So we, you could see us in 3 movie theaters across town before and after the movies in that lineup. And so that was a fun new way to get the word out. And so these are our goals that we present each year: 25,000 attendance, 80,000 sponsorship, and 250,000 in revenue. And this is where we're at this year. So our attendance, 30,500, well over our goal. Dana Nordstrom gets most of the credit, if not all, for the 112,500 in sponsorship. She just rocked that for us this year. And then our total revenue goal of 345,000 and some extra. So we definitely did see the success that we were hoping for with those new additions. And that is actually broken down a little bit here because it's interesting. We actually did have a little bit of a dip on opening weekend. It was a heat advisory weekend. We had shelter in place warnings for heat all over the place, and it did affect our numbers. So goal, the blue line on this graph is goal and the white is what we achieved. So you actually see that on Sunday, we were a little bit lower than our goal, which has not happened in a while. But then if you look at our numbers, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we are solidly above goal. And I will tell you that on Tuesday, we were 1,000 people over our highest Tuesday prior to this year. So that is a significant increase for us, just under 1,000, but I like to round up. So Sensory Day, Senior Day, both being on that Tuesday, ended up being a fantastic partnership and really bringing these goals to life. And then, of course, our closing Saturday, we had beautiful weather and a successful demo derby, and all had fun and filled the place up again. But it was a great week. We had a lot of fun, and it was busy, and it was busy all week long. It's kind of how our revenue breaks down, 168 at the gates, 43 for vendors, which is also, I believe, a record high. Sky Bogle, our new what was administrative technician? She has a new title. Just rocked the vendor part of this. She did a great job. We already mentioned Dana with sponsorship, and then our carnival, which was down from last year in overall sales, but still a successful year for both of us. So finances are tight, so we weren't overly surprised to see the carnival numbers drop a little bit, but we're glad that people came out and found an affordable way to enjoy the fair. And of course, we couldn't do what we do without all of our amazing sponsors. This list just keeps on growing, and I wish I could read all their names, but we try to print this as much as we can and acknowledge this as much as we can, because the truth is so much of what we do couldn't happen without them. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna ask Nancy to play our little wrap-up video real quick to give you guys a little glimpse at the fair, and then I'll take any questions. Yay, sorry, I love that video. Good job. I have any questions I can answer for you?
Questions? I saw one of the high dives. That was pretty scary. I saw one of the high dives.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, yeah. That was not me, no. No. Okay.
Total attendance up. Coming in during the week to avoid the crowds versus new attendance.
It's hard to gauge because of that opening weekend drop. I think if the rest of the week, so Monday through Sunday or Saturday, was on track with higher or at least what we had the previous year. The first 2 days were down from last year, but it was an unusually slow opening weekend because of the heat index. And I say that last year was really hot on opening weekend too, but it had rained for 6 weeks beforehand and people didn't care. This year it had been hot for 6 weeks beforehand and it was exceptionally hot that day. And it definitely, every year when we do our pre-fair report too, we mentioned that weather is one of those things we can't control, but it's on our list. Definitely weather is a huge contributor to what those days look like for us. But for example, Thursday, we got rained out that night, but still had a really decent attendance. So, yep.
Living on the
Thank you.
on the west side of, hang on a second, living on the west side, I think there's so many things for the local community to engage with all along the Front Range, but as we go out east, there just aren't so many things, and this is just such a beautiful thing to see so many people having the opportunity to do something super fun near their hometown. So really happy to see it, and the numbers of people coming and the number of sponsorships and the number of revenue that it generates, it's I think it's, well, if you look at the numbers, it's 2 or 3 times all the other reservations for the entire county. So it's something to be really proud of, and I think you guys are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. It really does take all of us. So everybody,
Yeah.
across parks and park ops. I mean, it's a crazy amount of people that it takes to pull that off. But
Yeah, it's
yes,
a
I
big
do
deal.
appreciate all of their help. And thank you for hearing about our fair. And we're already planning the next one. So
Go get them.
you'll hear about that one eventually.
Beautiful to hear. Okay, we're going to move on in the agenda. I noticed that our county commissioner, Mr. Vanderwerf, is here. And Todd, do you want us to make a break in the agenda? Do you have anything you'd like to share with us, Stan, or you want to wait till after the presentations?
Thank you, everybody. As you know, County Commissioner Stan Vanderwerf, and appreciate the continued service that you all have for this Parks Board. I don't really have anything specific with regard to parks, but I can tell you that we do continue to do an enormous amount of work with regard to fire risk reduction. And next week, we have the Chamber's DC fly-in. And since I'm the federal liaison amongst the 5 commissioners, I work with our lobbyist, Van Scoyoc, in Washington, D.C., to work on a variety of different things. We were very successful in being a team member and helping to keep Space Command right here in Colorado Springs where it needed to be, because to move it would have cost $10 billion in taxpayers' money, and we would have gotten no additional capability for that cost. But on this trip, we're going to talk about one thing that is relevant with regard to fire risk reduction. Van Scoyoc, our lobbyist, is actually really good at pursuing, finding, and obtaining grant money for their clients, and we're one of their clients. So we are going to be talking to the entire delegation, both of our senators, as well as Congresswoman Pedersen and Congressman Lamborn's offices, and also the members themselves, with regard to continued interest in fire risk reduction, mechanical mitigation, and those kinds of things. You may or may not know, but a 3 years ago, we were successful in getting $18 million for the National Forest Service for the Pike National Forest, and they're using those funds today to do mechanical mitigation north of Highway 24 and west of the Front Range. That will actually culminate in a completion in southern Douglas County that will do an enormous amount of work for reducing fire risk, but in particular, trying to prevent another Waldo Canyon event, which is was pretty dangerous, and there's still plenty of danger up there. We've been a little bit less successful in obtaining funding for south of Highway 24, and I was in a meeting this morning with a resident and community leader for Crystal Park. You may know where that is. That is an exceptionally dangerous area with regard to fire risk. They have only one entrance in and one entrance out. And it's pretty rough terrain. Rough terrain is more expensive to mechanically mitigate, but we're going to have a conversation about that. And our lobbyist has found a couple of other potential grant opportunities that we may try to pursue. So one of the things we'll be doing in my legislative liaison visits to our delegation is seeking to find out if they'd be interested in supporting and sponsoring some of those grant proposals. So I think that'll be very successful. Again, not really directly a park thing, but sometimes fun to hear what else the county is working on. The other thing that we're working on, it's kind of interesting, really has nothing even remotely related to parks, but does relate to the trip next week. We've had a lot of success this time in trying to actually get a federal courthouse in the Colorado Springs area. So one of the challenges that we have is the only federal courts we have in the state of Colorado are in Denver. There's 8 courts up there. And most other states have at least 2 locations. In fact, Wyoming has 3, Kansas has 2, Oklahoma has 3. You go west, and every state has 2 or 3 locations, and we're one of the few states left in the entire country that has every federal courthouse in one single place. There's a real challenge with that because for those who are accused, but also for the law enforcement that may need to escort those accused individuals, and for all the lawyers that are involved in those court cases, they all have to go to Denver, pay that bill, stay in the hotel, buy Denver food, and it's costly and expensive for people outside of Denver to access those services. This is a little bit about unfairness. It also turns out Colorado Springs is the largest city in the United States by far that does not have a federal courthouse. So somehow, for some reason, we somehow got bypassed, but we're working to rectify that. And I'm really happy to report that we have near universal support in Colorado. The entire delegation supports it, including both senators. The Attorney General supports it. The governor supports it. The Colorado Bar supports it. The El Paso Bar supports it. Many local lawyers support it. We all see the value of having these services here locally. So we've been able to actually get some funding in this upcoming budget. Now all we have to do is get Congress to pass that budget. That's a whole nother story unto itself. But there's some funding in there to do some analysis and do some location study work. And once we get on that path, it's usually a very high chance of having success 5 or 7 years later. So we've made an enormous amount of progress. Again, doesn't really have to do with parks, but it's a little bit about what I'll be doing next week and gives you some insights into some of the work that county commissioners do. So just thought you would find that to be interesting. Once again, thank you for all the work that you do. I do talk constantly about our Parks Department to citizens and interested parties, even with the funding challenges that we have and so forth. We have grown in our number of county parks. We have enhanced our infrastructure in our parks. You all play a role in that. We're on a funding campaign for another center up north that I am absolutely certain is going to be successful at some point down the road. And I just want you to know that I'm very proud of the Parks Department and the team and this board. And just so you may know this as well, but I am termed out and I only have a few months left. So I'm not going to have too many opportunities to say this to you in the future. So I'm just grateful for the opportunity to express my appreciation. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm happy to take those, but that may be good enough where we're at.
Any questions? Commissioner, we're so thankful for your role as our liaison and participating in so many of our groups and your leadership. And I get a chance to hear you saying nice thing about parks out there, and it's very much appreciated. Thank you for your service and being able to make sure that the things that are very close to our heart continue to show up in other people's minds and hearts too.
Thank you, Chair. That means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on agenda to item number 4B, Creek Week update, and Dana Nordstrom. Hey, Dana. Okay. And this is on page 15, starting on page 15.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Dana Nordstrom, the Community Outreach Specialist for El Paso County Parks. The Fountain Creek Watershed District serves the area from Palmer Lake to Pueblo, working to enhance the health of the watershed through creek restoration and community engagement. I am thrilled to announce our 11th annual Creek Week cleanup. Cleanups take place from September 28th through October 6th. Over the past decade, Creek Week has mobilized more than 25,000 volunteers and have removed 150 tons of trash. That's the equivalent weight of the Statue of Liberty. Let's just take a moment and think about that. So happy that we have Creek Week in our community. We're incredibly thankful for the support of El Paso County Parks over the past 11 years. This year, we're hosting 3 cleanups including our kickoff at Fountain Creek Nature Center on Saturday, September 28th, along with Bear Creek Dog Park that day. Then we'll wrap up at the Bear Creek with the Bear Creek Restoration Crew at Bear Creek Nature Center, October 5th. The district supports its 9-member governments by providing cleanup supplies, including bags, gloves, grabbers, buckets, and some fun swag. And I have some of that for you today and some informational handouts as well related to the district and Creek Week. Most cleanups take only a few hours, but can have make a huge difference. So that's all I really have for you today. Do you have any questions
Any questions?
or comments?
Do you have a video like last year, or are you going to do that after the
You know,
Creek
that
Week is
hurts,
over?
Vincent. That hurts. No, I don't. Oh, okay, yeah. The Fountain Creek Watershed District houses all their materials at our Bear Creek Regional Park shop, which is huge. They could not even function without that, so, which is amazing. And they also use the Bear Creek shop as their material pickup for not only Creek Week, but also for the Great American Cleanup. Thank you. Sorry about that. I'm a little nervous. Which is huge. So right now, I think there's about 35 groups signed up for Creek Week. So all those groups will be coming to the Bear Creek shop to pick up all their materials, their buckets, their gloves, their pickers, and informational materials. And we also host the Creek Week crew leader training in the Creek side room over at Bear Creek, at park headquarters there in Bear Creek Regional Park as well. So County Parks is a huge supporter of this organization and this huge community-wide events.
Dana, I believe that on October 5th is also one of the weekends where the Cause I Love You events are going on. And is there like?
Yes, that's true.
And so they're promoting like sign up for things. Are we associated with that in some way, or where do we sign up?
Yes, I work with Corey, and she does direct her people to the Creek Week, the Fountain Creek Watershed District Creek Week site, and they can sign up for the cleanup events for that day as well.
So you could sign up either way? Mm-hmm. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I think 2 years ago, Cause I Love You provided over 250 volunteers at the Bear Creek Dog Park cleanup event.
Wow, yeah, that's a great event.
Yeah, they're a wonderful organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any other questions? Yeah. Susan?
Is the Leave No Trace Gold program something that you work with, a gold standard program, when you do the Creek Week? Do you look,
Thank you.
do you look at the areas you're going to submit them as gold Leave No Trace standard areas?
Well, we definitely are using the same criteria because after our crews leave, there is no trash anywhere. And we also work with a couple of trash pickup people that actually come in and pick up trash the very same day as our events.
Have you any experience or understanding of the North Slope Reservoirs Leave No Trace Gold Standard? Have you heard about that, or?
I personally haven't.
Okay.
I'm sure Ali Shook, the executive director, probably knows all about that.
Okay. And the reason I bring it up is it might be a incentive, motivation, I don't know, or just a nice way to reward people for being out there and doing all that hard work by showing what the average citizen can do for their own small little niche in the community. And so if they were to be able to show their efforts are being recognized by a large organization like Leave No Trace, that might also help program and get people to do it every day and not just on Creek Week cleanup assigned projects. So I'm just
That's great. I will pass that information along to Ally.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
This is Jeremy. Can I ask, we live in the northeast side of the Springs. We got kind of a youth group in our congregations. We're along the Sand Creek Trail. At the bottom of it, it says choose a date, choose a location, make a difference. Some of the key ones other than Fox Run are kind of down on the southern side. If we were able to get our youth group along like the Sand Creek Trail, how do we go about just organizing that and having the supplies?
I have a little postcard in your bag, and you can just, a QR code, you can click on that, and you can see all those sites listed, and there are a lot of sites down south, so.
Great.
Also, am I wrong to say that you can submit a site as a crew leader to do something that may not be listed?
That is correct, Susan. However, I don't know what the deadline is for that.
Oh, there's a deadline.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
but that is correct.
Okay, any other questions? Dana, thank you.
You're welcome.
I look
Pass
forward to
that
going
to-
picking up some trash this
Some gift
year.
bags.
Susan, if you're going to be speaking later, you may want to bring up your bag challenge too. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is item number 4C, Bear Creek Restoration Crew, and Kylie Taylor is going to be presenting that. Welcome, Kylie.
Hi, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
And this, I'm sorry, Kylie, excuse me, this starts on page 16.
Yes, go for it. Oh, no. There we go. All right, welcome and thank you guys so much for having me here. I'm Kylie Taylor. I'm the interpretive programs specialist down at Bear Creek Nature Center. And I'm here today to talk about something that was originally my goal to do for the year, which was coordinate a once a quarter volunteer-led event to improve the land around Bear Creek Nature Center, how that went, and then kind of talk about the future of that as well. So our mission here at the Nature Centers is to connect people to their natural and cultural resources and inspire stewardship. And I think the restoration crew has been such a clear example of inspiring stewardship through education and getting our hands dirty, really. So working at the Nature Centers, you get really in tune with the things that are happening there, the rhythms of nature, and kind of notice when things boom and bust a lot. So one of the things that we had noted was the health of Bear Creek had kind of gone down. We had noticed a lack of macroinvertebrates in the creek, which are the little creek critters starting their life in some kind of larval stage as they move into adulthood. So there were fewer and fewer of those, and a lot of them are really sensitive to changes in the water. So for Bear Creek to be at its best, it needs cold, well-oxygenated, fast-moving, clean water. It's really picky, and so are the critters that live in there. So we noticed that that was definitely a problem. Another thing that we noticed was we were having some of these events like Creek Week and stuff where people are coming out to gather trash, and there just wasn't trash, which was a great problem to have. It makes your volunteers feel like it wasn't worth it to be there. So we had come up with the idea to initially focus on the restoration crew being about creek health. Once we took it to our maintenance team, they also brought in the perspective of wildfire mitigation as well, because it's a when, not an if. So they were really adamant that that be something we could work on together. So the restoration crew was born last October 2023, and it was a really great partnership between the Nature Center and our maintenance team as we focused on trail maintenance, fire mitigation, habitat restoration, and introduced species removal. So it has been super successful. We've loved doing this crew. We have a couple of pictures up there as well. One is of Ann Schofield, one of our volunteers, and another from a work day that we did recently in May. In total, we have about 65 volunteers. It started initially as just our Nature Center volunteers, but the public and our community around Bear Creek Nature Center have really just dug into this. They love it. They're super invested. So we now have more community volunteers than we do even our nature center volunteers. So people that weren't previously part of our nature center volunteers are just spending their time and giving their time to these work days. So far, we've had 5 total. So we were supposed to do once a quarter. We threw an extra one in there when there was a really big dam removal that needed to be done. So we ended up with 5. And it's been really cool to be part of this and also include our stewardship education as part of that. So not just going out and picking up sticks, but the why and fire mitigation and introduced species versus our native species, and really just talking together about all the cool ways that you can be involved in nature that doesn't have to just include leading field trips and such too. So we've had a lot of new volunteers and really gotten to know a lot of our community members that frequently use our trails around the nature centers as well. So this was one of my favorite things. I didn't include this as a technical work day, but each year in the summer, we do a middle school camp. And during middle school camp this year, each day was focused on a different theme. So on Wednesday, we had a stewardship day. And throughout that day, the middle schoolers made skits about specific and famous stewards around the area. We had a Leave No Trace lesson from City of Colorado Springs. And then we put 30 middle schoolers to work. So the problem was there's a very popular spot along Bear Creek that's an access point for us with our programs, as well as members of the public too. There was a lot of loose tree limbs in that area, lots of dams and forts being built in that spot, which was a big reason we were seeing fewer and fewer macroinvertebrates. I was a little nervous that middle schoolers would not want to work during their camp day, but if you give middle schoolers a competition, they're gonna do it. So we split them up, each on one side of the creek, 15 and 15, set them to work, and in 45 minutes, they had done more work than some of my volunteer groups had done in 3 hours. So we challenged them to compete and see who could make the biggest stick pile on each side. There was no prize. They just wanted to do it for the sake of it. So they did awesome, and we've had fewer forts and dams being built in that spot as well. So it's been a great kind of conglomeration between us and the middle schoolers as well. There was a lot of learning to do in this process. I was very invested in this. I've previously worked with Cheyenne Mountain State Park with their trail crews and fire mitigation crews. But being part of it versus leading it is very, very different. A couple things we noticed right away was the vests that we have for mitigation and such were plastic vests that, like, the second a branch touched them, they were shredded. So they were not effective, they were not useful. We've since invested in some better vests to make our volunteers look more official and make sure that they are visible as we're doing this work. Additionally, we also were lacking some of the tools needed to do some of that mitigation work. So we've invested in pruners and shears and some pruning saws and all sorts of things too. I also invested in my personal learning process by attending the Rocky Mountain Field Institute crew leader training. So thanks. That picture in the background is actually from Bear Creek Canyon Park, where we did a lot of our training this year. So it was close to my usual stomping grounds and was also very connected to our trailability program as they're extending that trail from Bear Creek Regional Park into Bear Creek Canyon Park as well. There we go. So we've formed a lot of great partnerships through this program with local businesses and with local groups as well. Obviously, I have to give props to our central maintenance team. They have been instrumental in providing knowledge, resources, tools, all sorts of things for us, and kind of guiding this process too. We've had a lot of food donations as well. Doing this work is hungry work, so we've had quite a few different businesses donate either something to eat before the workday or after the workday. We typically go from 9 to noon, so it's usually right at noon. Everyone's really, really hungry, so that's been awesome to have that as well. As Dana said, we're involved in the Creek Week and Great American Cleanups as well. The UCCS Global Medical Brigade Colorado Springs Hiking Gals and the Palmer Land Conservancy, in conjunction with Colorado College, they've all separately had different groups come in and help supplement the volunteers that we already have. And that's been really cool to see as well, and kind of educate and teach people about some of the different things that are happening. So, as I said, I think it's been a huge, huge success. In terms of improvements to the land, we and our campers this year, we didn't prompt them, I swear, but the campers also just said, wow, there's so many macroinvertebrates in the water this year. So it was great to see that kind of increase as well. More fish have been seen in our stream, a little further downstream than they typically are. Fewer dams are being built in the stream. As we've been removing some of that kindling and during our fire mitigation, we've cleared a lot of that space as well. So there are a lot more succession plants on the forest floor because the sunlight can actually reach them now. So they are able to actually grow, which has also brought some introduced species, but we took care of those. We've also seen a really great community investment. We have a lot of really dedicated volunteers, and the community itself has been really grateful and noted some of those areas we've worked really hard in. We've in total had about 192 volunteer hours between those 5 work days. And if we estimate that a volunteer hour is worth about $36, that's $6,900 invested into the El Paso County Parks through people giving their time to this program. Finally, restoration crew's future. I've included Eli, who's one of our amazing kiddos at the nature centers, involved in everything. So our next workday is actually October 5th as part of the Creek Week, closing everything. It's also the 1-year anniversary of Restoration Crew, so we're having a 1-year birthday party. So you guys are obviously invited. If you would like to come, there will be cake and coffee and donuts, and we'll talk about the success of the program and everything too. Following that, we're gonna take a quick winter break. It's just really hard to guess what the weather is gonna be like, if there's gonna be snow on the ground, or if you're even going to be able to see any of the kindling that's on the ground. So we're gonna take a quick break, do a survey to our volunteers, goal alignment with our central maintenance staff, and then recalibrate for the next year. This year we were not able to get to a lot of trail maintenance, but that's something I'd like to incorporate in the coming year. And there's still so much work to do. There's so many areas that need a little bit more love and attention, but it has been such an honor to see this program grow and people be so invested in the park that I love as well. So thank you for your time. And if you have any questions, let me know.
Kylie, thank you. Questions?
I was wondering, you said that there was large stacks of debris that was collected and then carried off. I'm curious, how was that done? Like, what was the removal?
Yeah, so part of working with our central maintenance staff is kind of letting them know when we're having these dates too. What we've done is started working from the nature center down our creek bottom trail, because that's where a large majority of that debris and kindling is kind of piled up. Thankfully, that means it's also really close to the parking lot of the nature center too. So typically we cone off a couple spots, and it's not necessarily put in bags. I wish I had a picture of it, but they're just giant piles of sticks in the parking lot area there that the maintenance team comes, clears out, chips up, and then is used around the park and in various other parks too.
Okay, that was my reason for asking, was who is hauling it off? Like, are you paying a disposal service? And then on top of that, is it just being landfill or if it's being repurposed? I didn't know, maybe you have heard that the zoo accepts not ground cover, but vegetation for the animals, and you can donate it to them as well.
Definitely.
I just didn't want it to be a waste.
I'll have to look into that. Most of the stuff that we take out is really, really dead.
Okay.
And it's, I think, maybe past the point of them using that, but I will definitely check. That's a great way to reuse it as well. Thank you.
Kylie, when is the October birthday party? When and where?
At Bear Creek Nature Center on October 5th from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. The birthday party will happen after. We're gonna have hats and streamers and all sorts of things.
Other questions? To me,
Thank
it's
you.
always wonderful when you see middle schoolers working. That's a beautiful thing.
It was
They-
awesome.
if you send them home with a clean your room too.
Honestly,
then
we
that would
should
be a
have.
good- that would be
They
awfully
did
good.
this. They can do anything. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kylie. Appreciate it.
Quick comment, just appreciation to Kylie and all of the team that have run it. This is a great story for us to make sure we're telling to the folks up north that might be concerned about Fox Run Nature Center. This is kind of the work and the connection that the nature centers make to the park and the improvements. So if you're talking to anybody that might be a little skeptical, you can tell them this story about the restoration crew and we will do the same.
Thank you. Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda, item 4D, starting on page 22, Brian Bobeck. Hey, Brian, welcome.
Afternoon, Brian Bobeck, Division Manager for Park Operations. So I'm going to do a quick little presentation about Bear Creek Regional Park, the shade structures we installed at the pickleball courts. So this is a project that started when Greg Station, our previous landscape architect, was still here. He went into some design efforts with the new 12 pickleball courts and some old retaining walls, vegetation, an area that we just needed to, we saw an opportunity to look at upgrading, improving that area for kind of a seating area, a gathering area, as pickleball is a very social sport as well. People liking to gather, hang out, wait for available courts and all those things. And one thing we've heard after these courts have been built is the need for shade. So we went through this process, just up on the screen, it's just showing a general location map and then Greg's overall layout and design of the walls and the shade structures. This gives a visual of what that area looked like prior to this project taking place. So definitely some aged retaining walls, timbers, junipers. One unique little thing of this area is the memorial there for, I believe it's Eddie Rudolph, local family in the community that had some tragic accidents, and it's a memorial that was dedicated to their son. And so great care needed to be taken in and reaching out to the brother that's still alive and coordinating, setting this to the side, doing the project and reestablishing it back into that area. This is a picture after the vegetation has been removed. Doesn't look as bad with the walls, but still some deterioration going on in those timber walls. There was a number of other trees in this area that we decided to go ahead and remove, just being in close proximity to the courts and continuous leaf and debris cleanup that would need to occur. And they were just in decline with the status of some of the tree health. This picture of after the walls have been torn down and getting the foundations dug for the new retaining wall that would go in. Here's a picture of the new walls after completion, having steps come down the middle from the parking area. One of the main concepts with this was kind of it sets up as a natural stadium seating area with the way the elevation worked. There had been talks with the Pickleball Association and other groups that maybe they would like to use this area more for tournaments and stuff. So we decided this could be a great little area for people to hang out. Use the walls to sit on, also bring lawn chairs and stuff to sit in between those areas as well if needed. Just to look at it from the top, and this will be our little area that we're going to implement shade structures. And you can see again from that view, you just overlook the courts very nicely and can be a great staging area for whatever events may be held there. And these are the shade structures after installation. Unique thing with shade structures in these is we try to keep these high enough because people do like to try things at times. So it's as a fabric shade sail, keeping them high enough, but then also the time of day, time of year, your shade footprint moves on you. So it's not always ideal for the picnic table underneath, but it does provide shade options that, again, if people bring lawn chairs or whatever, they have that opportunity to take a little break from the sun. And this is just another angle of it, another angle of it. See here where we reinstalled the memorial back under the tree. You have a gentleman sitting on the wall, kind of enjoying the shade there in the corner. And then just to wrap up, Pikes Peak Pickleball has been a great partner with us through this property. They did donate $7,000 to these structures going in. So we'd like to acknowledge them and thank them again for their support. And then as well, El Paso County Park Planning, Jason, Greg, when he was here, and the planning team. And then, of course, the El Paso County Park Central District and their support through these projects, the landscape improvements, various things around there. So that's all I have. If you have any questions for me.
Yeah, Brian, thank you. Questions?
Looks great. Looks great.
Yeah. I'll add something in there, not related to this, but certainly pickleball, e-bikes, disc golf are growing sports, and pickleball and e-bike and disc golf in particular to economically disadvantaged communities in our community. It doesn't cost too much to get a pickleball racket or a disc golf disc. Usually someone will give you one.
Right.
And you guys, I think your team members also fixed some of the tees at the Whitefield Disc Golf Course, which I had the pleasure of playing last week. And I just wanted to thank you for doing that.
You bet.
Yeah, it looks much better. A
Yeah,
little
you know,
safer.
they got a couple improvements made around there, and we'll always need to keep looking at additional things to keep those tees in a safe
Yeah, yeah.
playing manner. But yeah, a good step in the right direction.
Yeah. For older guys who throw and don't want to fall off the tees down a cliff, I particularly appreciate it.
Bet.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Those are actually really stunning, the shade structure area and making that new and beautiful. Nice job.
Yep,
Any other questions or comments relative to the pickleball courts?
The only thing it needs now is repaved tennis courts.
Yep, that's the next big one that's out there is definitely get some comments of those other courts that need to be refurbished. So,
All right, thank you, Brian.
Yep,
Appreciate
thank
it. Todd,
Maybe
did you have
Commissioner
something to add?
Vanderwerf can get us some federal funding for the repaving tennis courts.
I'll have to get the American Tennis Association to make a little donation to help. All right, next on the agenda is item number 5, citizens' comments and correspondence. And I think I see a citizen coming down to comment. Susan, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. Susan Davies, Trails and Open Space Coalition. Few comments to begin with. Happy Trails. What a great event. Jeremy, you did a fantastic job. What a moving speech, and you were the right choice for that, and everybody was hanging on your every word. So really, really good job. It was
Commissioner
excellent.
did fantastic too.
I'm sad that Kaylee left because I was part of the event at Fox Run Park on Saturday where they highlighted accessibility and partnered with other organizations that have the same kind of track chairs that are being used for people with disabilities. And it was really wonderful to watch the people come up. And these were quality participants, people that came up who had questions or were older or had physical disabilities and were able to try the different chairs, and it was great to be there. So kudos to the county parks for that program and for bringing those different partners in. I try to bring you updates to what's happening with the city parks, and just you maybe have seen in the media that the e-bike survey had 3,800 response. That's an amazing number for a survey. So to get that kind of response means that they really put it out there and that people are very invested in that topic. 60% of them said, yes, we want e-bikes, class 1 e-bikes on our urban and soft surface trails in Colorado Springs. We were delighted by that outcome. My organization has come out affirmatively in favor of e-bikes on our soft surface and urban trails for a variety of reasons. And interestingly enough, when they asked people why, the number one reason was for accessibility, that e-bikes give people who may not be able to stay biking, cycling, an opportunity to continue cycling. So we were delighted to see that. The largest population of folks that responded was the 45 to 60-year-olds. So that was interesting too, that's an invested group that are looking to the future and saying, I want to be able to use e-bikes. So that was great. Now the next steps, it's going to be presented tomorrow to the Parks Advisory Board. It was in the TOPS Working Committee last week. And then next month, we're expecting city staff to come back with policy ideas. How do they take these survey results and now turn them into policy? A little ambiguous. We're not sure exactly what that means, but we're very excited about learning their ideas on how now we can make this happen. Because as you know, with the TOPS ordinance, they have some restrictions as well as the conservation easements, and there's just a variety of reasons why it's been a little bit more difficult for our county and our city, as opposed to, say, Douglas County, Pueblo County, and many of the cities up and down the Front Range. But we're looking for solutions. So one of the things that the TOPS Working Committee did say, and I'll be quick because I know you're being very generous with time, was that the TOPS Working Committee wasn't as concerned about whether it's Class 1, Class 2, Class 3, Class 4, Class 5, Class 6. What they really want is safety and speed limits. They would like there to be more signage out there. The city's speed limit is 20 miles per hour. It's hard to find that information. So how do we get that information to people on all bikes, not just e-bikes, but on conventional bikes as well, to keep it to 20 or slower? And then what does enforcement look like? So safety, education, enforcement, those are the things that we'll be looking at, and as advocates encouraging that we can do this. Other counties are doing it, we can do it too. Other cities are doing this, we can do it too. Any questions?
I have a question about the speed limit. That seems extremely low.
20?
20 miles an hour to go on a bike through trail systems?
20 is pretty generous. There are some cities, Susan, that actually have 15 mile per hour speed limit, like Fort Collins. So
Is that regulated to a location, like how urban and how backcountry that is?
well, the reality is it's hard to enforce. And
Okay.
I don't know that you'd ever see a speed limit sign in an open space, but especially in our urban trail system, when you think that people are walking it and running it, 20 is actually
Yeah, I don't have a problem
is
with the
good.
20 for very high use areas, but the average, I would have thought, as a experienced bike rider, is between 27 and 30 for recreational single track use.
Well, you're cranking it then, because I think that's a little high. But the other piece is, you know, for Class 1 e-bikes and Class 2 e-bikes, they only go to 20. Pedal assisted for Class 1, they don't go faster than 20.
Anyway.
And same with Class 2. Class 3 will go to 28.
Okay.
But 20 is a pretty good place.
That's okay. Thank you for
No, it's
clarifying. Also, I was wondering, the parties included in the discussion for the e-bikes, would that be expanded to maybe some high-profile private landowners, for example, the utilities?
So you're talking like North Slope or
And
things like
South
that?
Slope and any of the mountain areas, because we're having a lot of users come up onto Pikes Peak and recreating and not knowing the difference between there being multiple land owners in a short distance of trail sections. And so I would find it useful to at least invite maybe some of the not county or city park, trail owners, sections of trails that are on their property, to even just listen in so that they can get a feel for what the future holds. I just see there being a lot of potential confusion.
Oh, no doubt. I think one of the goals that has been discussed ongoing, that once city establishes their policy, we would certainly hope that county would follow suit so that there's a seamless uniformity of policy on our urban trails and in our open spaces. So, and hopefully that would spill over into federal. Right now, it's a patchwork of policies, but it's a good idea.
Okay, thank you.
John.
Just a request, somewhat personal, but also from the feedback I get.
You do have an e-bike, I remember.
No, I do not.
Oh, I thought you did.
And
Yet, okay.
I'm really reluctant to buy one.
Interesting.
Because I would buy a Class 2 or 3 because I'm 70 years old and there may be times I don't want to pedal. And I don't want to spend thousands of dollars on a bike and then have all the trails be not allowed. I would really encourage both the city and the county to define those rules on performance and behavior, not on the machine.
Fair enough, and especially since the technology is changing so rapidly. That is exactly what the committee has been saying is, let's be smart and visionary about this.
And it also addresses the inability to enforce slightly. But it really needs to be performance-based, not the machine definition, partly because of what I just said, but also because the machines are going to change.
Exactly, exactly. Great point. We'll pass that up the food chain.
Thank you.
Other questions? Susan, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you for this time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Susan.
I think Corey Satella from Medicine Wheel is online. Corey, did you have public comment?
I do. Can you hear me okay, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Hello. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, Corey Satella with Medicine Wheel Trail
Actually,
Advocates.
Corey, before you, it's a little bit quiet. Is there any way to turn it up a little bit?
I'll get as close as I can to the mic. How's that?
Better.
Great. Corey Satella with Medicine Wheel Trail Advocates. We will look forward to more discussion about the e-bike topic. For now, what I wanted to share with you is it's not on county property, but I thought you'd all like to know. September 21st and 22nd, we will be partnering in partnership with Fountain Valley School. We have created a high school mountain bike race course that is compliant with the high school league, the state league. And so Fountain Valley School will be hosting the first ever high school league mountain bike race on the Front Range. Before now, all high schoolers have had to go up to the high country for a race course, and now we've just completed, and this will be the first race on a brand new course at Fountain Valley School. And it's all day Saturday and Sunday, the 21st and 22nd. We'd love it if anybody wanted to come out and check out the new course that we were able to build with thanks to support for our new mini excavator machine. And we're really pleased with the course. So be glad if any of you were able to join us. The other update I wanted to, sorry, is it okay?
Yeah, you're good.
The other update I wanted to share, thank you to the board, first of all, for your service and also for your consideration of the Jones Park Master Plan last time. I did want to let you know that our suggestions to change the appendix were taken to the County Commissioners Board, and right now we're waiting to see if we can implement some changes to that appendix. I wanted to add some context. There was nothing in our proposal that would reduce the protection for the greenback cutthroat trout. And our proposal that we're moving forward would just clarify that we really want the evaluation of the protection for the trout to be done locally by Palmer Land in consultation with the U.S. Forest Service and other agencies, but not giving the approval authority to those outside agencies. And that was a key tenet of the transfer of this property to the county in 2016, was that local control would be maintained, and then we insisted there would be a conservation easement that's held by Palmer Land in order to protect the fish. So I feel like our goals of protecting the fish and providing a future pathway for consideration of recreation, they're aligned here. And what we're trying to do is get clarification on the county's role and ownership of this property. Thank you very much for the chance to speak.
Great. Thank you, Corey. Any questions? Okay, hearing none. Appreciate that. Next on the agenda, we have nothing on agenda item number 6, developmental applications. So we'll move on to agenda item number 7 on page 29, information and action items. Are there any questions relative to information and action items?
I do have a question. In the time that I've been able to come to these meetings, I have yet to have no application. Is this something suspicious? Like, why are there no applications?
No, it has happened in the past. Typically, we canceled the meeting when that's happened. And so, but we had so many reports from last month and this month that we decided to bring it together for those.
Okay, I wasn't aware of some of those cancellation reasons. Thank you.
It doesn't happen often.
The other question I have is about the gazebo. I'm just curious on what the status is. Like, what part of the plan are we on for replacing the gazebo?
Yeah. Brian Bobeck has been working on that, and he can come down and kind of tell you where we're at in that process. it's moving forward.
Just to clarify for everyone else, since you just said a gazebo, which gazebo we're talking about, just so that we're all aware?
Yeah, it'd be Fox Run Regional Park, the ponds and gazebo there. Yeah, so we're in contract with Matrix Design Group. We're still in early stages, but we're expecting some conceptual designs here in the next couple weeks with some 30% design anticipated in later in October. So we're starting to move through the process, just through doing a lot of surveying, gathering some information, drilling, geotechnical study, soils testing, those type things. So there's a lot of data gathering going on in the process right now, and then we'll start moving into getting into some conceptual designs here in the near future.
Remind me, did it get discussed at the board field trip that the footprint of the pond itself, you're going to reline it, but are you changing the footprint to be deeper, to be bigger? And the reason I'm asking is it occurred to me just recently that things like paddle boards are getting to be very lucrative in the local use of parks. And if there was a way to get paddle boards into Fox Run's pond, then it would take some of the stress off some of the other parks that are being really heavily used, almost too heavily.
They're very small ponds in the grand scheme of things, and having the two-tier elevation of those ponds as well. They're primarily for aesthetic purposes and
So
being
you're
able
not,
to enjoy the water. But as far as introducing some of the water sports and things like that, it's going to be a real challenge due to the size of the ponds. And to answer your question about the size, they're going to pretty much be same footprint. We need to stay within that. There will be a little shift on one side as we look at moving the gazebo from an island over to the edge, but still trying to give it a little bit of an island feel. But we need to maintain pretty much the same footprint as there. And then depth and all that, we're still looking at those things and what that is based on the well supplying those ponds, irrigation usage, some of those things. But as far as the footprint, we're pretty much as is.
okay, yeah, I was under the impression that it wasn't going to change, but I had wondered if maybe that was something that would be possible, but I can see the constraints of those.
Sure.
So, thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Any other questions relative to action items?
Todd, how is the fundraising going for Fox Run Nature Center?
So we just reached our 60% design, and so we'll be reaching back out to some of the donors we've already met with. But Jason and Dana have been very active in writing and submitting grants, and so they're out there. A lot of deadlines in this fall, and we should be getting some information back in the next couple months on those. Private donations continue to come in. So we're still going up. Happy Trails, you just talked about, raised about $12,000 for the nature centers. And so, but we're getting donations to the nature centers, to the Friends for Fox Run too.
Okay. Is there a dollar figure you're at now, Todd?
Yeah, I'll try to give you guys an update after, maybe in November.
Okay.
Yeah, with the budget.
Sounds fair. Any other questions on information and action items? Otherwise, we'll move on to item A and monthly reports. Monthly reports starting on page 36.
We're here if you have any questions or comments.
You guys know that one of my outdoor activities is disc golf, and the state championship for disc golf was just held at Pueblo and at Widefield, and not held in Colorado Springs. And it's largely because their disc golf courses are in pretty bad shape. Widefield, as you guys have, as I mentioned earlier, made some improvements in some of the tees, but it's also just it's maintained a little bit better.
Thank you.
A little nicer course, so thank you for that. And they would not be hosting that championship at that course if it was in pretty good shape, so you should be proud of that. I think Sabine said 145, 150-ish people participated in that tournament over Labor Day weekend.
very proud of the disc golf course, and thank you to some of your board members, Tom, for donating to help us redo the tee boxes, which was a hazard, plus it just didn't look real nice. And so now they're much more refined and safer for people to tee off.
And then next week, Paint Minds, there's going to be a meeting out.
We
You
do.
know.
We have an open house open house for the master plan coming up in the next couple weeks. Who can help me with the date?
The 19th, I believe. Evening of the 19th.
Thank you. Yep, September 19th. It's going to be at Swink Hall out at the fairgrounds, and it's going to be from 6 to 7:30, and it is an open house. So, but they will do a short talk, and then everybody can go around to the different tables and take a look. We've
I
done
have
one
meet-
in town, and now we're going to do one out east.
I have meetings until like 5 o'clock, but I'll try to be out there, but I may be late depending on how that goes.
I will be there and look forward to seeing anybody that can come. In addition, you can go online and provide feedback there. Encourage you all to do that. And Jason and I have been talking about potentially bringing some rough drawings to you and plans maybe in November. And that way you'll get a preview in October or November.
Todd, within the updates on page 45, there's a short update in regard to construction due to the flooding response.
Sure.
And, federal government goes pretty slowly. How's that going? We're going to get things
Moving
fixed up there.
forward, yeah.
Afternoon, Jason Meyer, Parks Planning Division Manager. Recovery projects are moving along. The NRCS projects are moving along a lot faster than the FEMA projects. We actually have final design for the repairs at Willow Springs completed, as well as by the Duckwood Trailhead. So those designs are completed, and we'll be moving into a contracting phase in October. In our construction window, we like to time it when the water is really low in Fountain Creek. So October, November of this year, going through March of 2025 is our projected construction window. And we'll bring you some reports along the way. It's pretty cool when you get to see large projects of that size being constructed. This one includes some sheet piling that will be going in along the creek. So have an opportunity to kind of share some of the nuts and bolts of what we do throughout that project. FEMA projects, all of them have been allocated to us obligated from the state. Now we're just going to go into a contracting phase on some of those as well. Those are trailing behind the NRCS ones, primarily because NRCS has a shorter funding window. So once those are kind of on their way in the construction phase, we will then kind of refocus some of our efforts on some of the FEMA projects. Realistically, those projects will be constructed next year.
Okay.
All right.
Good. Jason, thank you. Any other questions? John?
The trail.
Do we know when that new trail will open to the public?
I don't know if we have a date yet, but we're looking at in the next couple weeks. Is that for the trail? Mid-October. I think, let's say late October. We've encountered a few challenges but we're moving forward and it will get done. Yeah,
Good deal. Thank you. Other questions relative to updates?
I have a question that's super random and unexpected.
Oh, good. Susan, I like that about you. Go ahead.
No. I'm really curious on a personal level about the grasshopper situation in Colorado Springs, and I'm wondering, have you had any impact on your garden spots or in the park systems or on your flower beds? Like, has the grasshoppers caused this amount of damage that I'm seeing as a general?
Yeah, Brian might have some more feedback, but we did get a request from the Bear Creek Garden Group to extend their season because the grasshoppers caused such damage that they had to catch up, and so they weren't able to harvest until later. And so Park Ops gave them an extension, and not as fruitful, or as productive as they've been in the past. And I have to tell you, I've never seen so many grasshoppers. In Bear Creek Regional Park, you would walk through the trails and there were just, you felt like you were in those movies with the locusts, swarm of locusts. So, and I don't know as far as an impact to parks.
Okay.
Anything to add, Brian? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious because I know that flowers are not free. And when you put them out as a landscaping,
Right.
it's really unfortunate. But
Yeah.
yeah, just curious. Thank you.
I have a whole group of turkeys in my neighborhood, and I think they're helping cut down the population of the grasshoppers. So.
You're here for
Anything
the
else?
turkeys. Any other questions relative to reports? Moving on to item number 9, not hearing any board staff comments, any staff or board comments.
Feel your thunder about, okay. I know if Teresa was here, she'd have some things to say, but she's at a conference right now. I think a couple of the things were just brought up. Happy Trails, very successful. And this event they did this last Saturday at Fox Run for accessibility. What a great idea and what a great collaboration. The city, the state, and the county were all together to talk about how we're expanding opportunities. Jeremy's been instrumental in helping us get that started in county parks and other places. And very proud to be that collaborator to put that up and to talk about the impact Fox Run Nature Center can have on that as a flagship for accessibility. So.
Yeah.
Those are some great events that just happened. We do have a demolition derby coming up in a couple weeks out at the fairgrounds. We usually only do one during the year, but we're doing 2. So if you're a derby fan, come out and see. They're doing bus races and they're doing trucks with boats. I'm not sure how that works, but I'm guessing it'll be a little more exciting. So
What's the date on that, Todd?
what's that?
The date on that one?
It is Sunday, September 22nd, I want to say.
That's right.
Thank you.
From 2 to 7.
There you go. Yep, should be a great event. Very excited about it. And the Derby drivers are always looking for another opportunity. So in addition, this will drive up the revenue for the El Paso County Fairgrounds considerably. So the Derby for us, for the county fair, is the major reason we make our revenue goal every year.
Beautiful. Sweet. Okay. Anything else? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Svensson, I'll motion to adjourn.
Second? Kirsten, second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Beautiful. Before